All right, so in this video, we're going to look at some more ways of making these decisions with JavaScript. So you've learned about the if-else statement in order to make decisions, but there are more ways to do this. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the ternary operator. Now, it's also called a conditional operator. It's just an operator that basically allows us to write like an if-else statement, but all in one line. Now, there is a minor difference. We can use a temporary operator if we have just two conditions. I'll show you what I mean in a second. But if we need to evaluate more than two conditions, we need to think if-else statement, okay? So now we'll just take a look at how that works. So again, I'm bringing back my grade variable here. I'll say var grade equal to 42. So now let's use the ternary operator in order to log to the console if Alex can go to the class or not, depending on his grade. As I said, we have just two conditions here. If it's less than 45, he cannot go to the next class. If it's greater than or equal to 45, then of course he can. Okay, so let's say his grade is less than 45. Okay, so we start here with a condition. Then we use a question mark. And then we write, it's basically what we want to have happen if this condition turns out to be true. So this is like an if block in an if-else statement, right? So in this case, we want to log to the console, console.log. You cannot go to next class. All right, so that's the first part. Now we also have to write the else block, all right? So for that, we use colon and then console.log. You can go to next class. Okay, and that's actually it. That's cool, huh? So this is the ternary operator. It's called ternary because it has three parts that interact with the operator. So we have the condition first. Then we have the if block here. Basically, then it's the else block. How's that? So now let's put it to the test. So I'll go to my console and refresh. And sure enough, yes, we can see here, you cannot go to next class. And that's because his grade is less than 45. So before you feel too badly for Alex, let's return to the code here, and we'll set the grade to 80, then go to console, and here we see you can go to the next class. All right, so let's return to the code again. Okay, so now this ternary operator returns us a value. Now let's take a look at another example, right? To see what I mean, with that, we can do assign values to a variable using the ternary operator in a very simple way. So let's say that we want to find a variable saying your result is a failure or a success. So let's just say var result. And now we can use a ternary operator right here. So grade is less than 45, then a question mark, which means, well, basically if. So basically, we use this to ask a question, right? So is grade less than 45? And if it is, then we can say failure. If it is not, it is greater than or equal to 45, then we can say success. And that's about it, right? So you follow, right? Basically, the result of this entire code here will be failure if the grade is less than 45, and it will be success if not. And this result will then be assigned to the result variable, right? That's key. All right, so again, this is an operator here, and an operator always has a result, just like we saw before with any of the other operators, okay? So this operator, this ternary operator, is executed, of course, before the assignment operator. So remember, this one is also called an operator. So first, we execute this part, which as a result will have either failure or success. And then that result will be assigned to the result variable. So let's log it to the console now, just to make sure that everything's working again. So I'll say console.log and result and go to the console and refresh. And sure enough, what do we see here? Success, because our grade is 80 at the moment. Now, just to compare what we would have to do without the ternary operator, let's write out the same thing with an if-else statement. So we would have to write if grade is less than 45, then curly braces, and here result is failure. Else, and curly braces, and inside of it, result is success. Okay, so what you see here is this ternary operator looks a whole lot cleaner. Now, in case we need to assign a value to a variable based on a simple condition like this, just use a ternary operator. I highly recommend it. So, of course, you're not going to be using a ternary operator for, I would say, a rather complex decision. But in cases like this, when we have something simple, well, there you go. You don't have to use the if-else statement. All right, so in this video, we talked about the ternary operator as an alternative way of writing conditionals. But there's actually even more. That's the switch statement. But I'm going to postpone that switch statement to the next video. So why don't you take a break right here, and we'll continue in the next section.